It was a strange, topsy-turvy sort of weekend across the Premier League these past couple days. Some teams were upset by lesser squads, and some squads were upset about letting points get away from them, and in some of those cases, for the second week in a row. Yes, I'm looking at you, Everton. We'll make the wreckage clear today on Coffee with a Kick. Hello and welcome back to Coffee with a Kick. End of match day 4, going into our first midweek action from the Champions League. This weekend was an interesting one, as you may have heard in the introduction. Starting off, it wasn't super interesting. Any overall highlights you wanted to preface before we get into it?
Well, your text to me said it best on Saturday. Weekend.
Wacky. So, topsy-turvy is how I put it in the introduction.
Yeah. But other than that, we can get into it. Definitely some talking points.
I mean, starting off, it was pretty bread and butter here. Southampton loses to Manchester United 3-0. It was, it wasn't the best showing for the start. Here, let me get to my notes. The game really did change on a turn. The first half an hour, Southampton looked really good, I thought. But then, in quick succession, they miss a chance on their PK, and then they don't mark De Ligt on the back post. He gets a header, and then 6 minutes after that, Marcus Rashford, the goalkeeper doesn't react until late on Marcus Rashford, and he sneaks it in far post. And that basically ended it in the first half. And then Manchester United just came out in the second and really sat back. And the red card in the 79th basically put the nail in the coffin for sure that Southampton was not doing anything until that. And then Garnacho got a garbage time goal from Diego Dalot assisting. It was... Manchester United did well to weather the first 30 minutes, but other than that, it wasn't a great thing.
Yeah, I felt like Southampton's... both by the defense and by the goalie, just lack of reactions, lack of awareness is what really killed them, because first 30 minutes told a different story. Southampton had a few chances to actually score.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to get my 2-1 prediction, especially in the first bit. Man U looked like Man U on the road. They didn't look very confident. But like you said, just a nice lofted ball in by Fernandez to De Ligt. And it worked out. He scored. But his header wasn't even that good either. It was just kind of soft, kind of rolled into the far post. Goalie kind of hesitated and couldn't get to it. So I don't know. Southampton, I think, left points on the table here because Man U were not at their best, but they were just clinical and got the job done, which is kind of what happens in these top of the table, bottom feeder matches. You can play a bad game, but still get the 3 points.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call them clinical. I would call them good enough. Manchester United was good enough today to get the 3 points. They weren't clinical, I don't think, because they really didn't look great. I mean, they won 3-0, but it wasn't a very impressive 3-0. Like, they had that small burst there when they got the penalty, didn't get converted, and they had those 2 goals back-to-back. But then it was just a long stretch. I mean, you go from nothing in the second half. You get a man down in the 79th. You don't do anything until 90 plus 6. I mean, you'll take it, obviously. But it wasn't, for playing a side that's going to be scrambling for points at the end of the season, it didn't instill confidence. But I think your theme there of leaving points on the table is one of the overarching themes of this weekend. 4 sides that really couldn't afford it. We'll get to more of them here in a moment. One team that managed to get as many points as were on offer comes up here next with Brighton goalless draw versus Ipswichtown. Tell me about it.
Yeah, this one was strange because I felt like Brighton dominated the entire match.
Whole thing.
It's not a lot of final third touches, not a lot of shots. It looked like a Brighton clinic, but they couldn't score. It was very strange. This could have easily been, 3-0, 4-0 had they just been a bit more clinical. Mm-hmm. Several final third, they just couldn't quite get that last touch in on the goal. So I don't know. Yeah, very much so. Like, this is a tough loss for a Brighton team that was on fire. I
Yeah.
hope this doesn't stop the momentum. Last season, we saw them win, I think, what they go, like 13 points out of the first 5 matches. Then they lost one, and it really just sent them back the rest of the season. Hopefully, psychologically, this doesn't kill them, but very strange match.
Yeah, and maybe, watching it, maybe Muric is the guy to keep them up. I bashed him in the preview episode saying, I don't know if this is the guy that's going to help you stay up. He did his job in this one. Goalless draw at Brighton. That's a good result for Ipswich Town. First points of the Premier League season for them. So, good on them. Good on them. Then we move to, here's one of the ones where the team that needed points gave them up. Crystal Palace comes back at home and manages a 2-2 draw against Leicester City in a Jean-Philippe Mateta second half brace, which really did. I mean, his 47th minute goal kind of changed the vibe of the match. Leicester was doing pretty well. I mean, the Jamie Vardy goal was kind of classic Jamie Vardy, even though he's super old now. Just a breakaway one-on-one. It was a terrible giveaway in the midfield by Crystal Palace. And then Vardy gets sprung for a one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and, he converts. It was unlucky, though. The first one there for Mateta was a bit unlucky for Leicester. And it was a strange VAR decision. They called him onside. I didn't see the recap after it. Was it the guy on the near side whose foot was sticking out so far to try to block the cross in that kept him onside? Do you know?
Yeah, I think so. I think he was just playing him onside because, like we've seen, VAR, the offside rule is kind of strange because you have the defender's toe can keep someone onside, but like the offensive player's arm technically isn't
right. It's shoulder.
Body. Right. So it goes to the shoulder. So it's one of those situations where, like, he's kept onside barely, but, it works out for him.
Yeah, that, and then just a terrible giveaway there for the penalty at the very end of it. I think it was a substitute who came on and immediately gave up the penalty, I believe. I think that's who it was.
Yeah, that's one of those conversations where you're on the sideline as the coach and you're saying, all right, what you don't want to do, just don't give up a penalty.
Yeah, we're winning.
Doing good.
We're getting 3 points at Crystal Palace. We need them. Just don't do anything stupid. Well, you know what? You do something stupid and then you only get 1 point instead of 3, which Leicester kind of needed. Moving on to another draw here. As far as picks are concerned, so far you got United. Neither of us got this one, and you picked a draw for Leicester and Crystal. So, good job. You were doing quite well on Sunday, as we talked about briefly before we started recording. But we'll continue on through. Let me get back over to this tab to Fulham and West Ham. This is another one where, Fulham isn't going to be a bottom table team. They're better than that. But still, you really would have liked to got 3 points here. But instead you give up a 90+5 to Danny Ings, to go 1-1 out of this international break.
Yeah, this one was Fulham dominated through and through.
Yeah.
I felt like after the Jimenez goal, Fulham did a great job of continuing to set the momentum, set the tempo. They had a lot of shots, not a ton of them on target, but they still showed a lot more initiative than West Ham might have. But yeah, just got lazy on defense at the very end and did not react quick enough, and Ings was the one to put in.
It's just a simple, quick throw that catches Fulham asleep in the 90+5, and West Ham converts. Just not a great look. Not a lot to talk about from this one, other than that. So I think we'll just move on to, you talked about in the preview episode that some big teams come out of these international breaks a little rusty. I think we got one here. Liverpool loses to Nottingham Forest 1-0 at The Anfield, the stat here, this is the first victory for Nottingham Forest at Anfield in 55 years.
Wow. Yeah, this one, I mean, I don't want to say I was going to predict Nottingham to win, but I did think about picking them to draw because of that international break theme that I've talked about. Mm-hmm. I had Liverpool winning 2-0 because I thought there's no way they're going to lose at Anfield against Nottingham. And it just looked sloppy. Liverpool they looked disjointed. They didn't look together as a team at times. And Nottingham just kind of played to their strengths. And I really thought Nottingham was able to assert their game plan in this match, which was, hey, we're going to keep chugging. We're going to get some counterattacks. Hudson-Odoi made a goal out of nothing. He just took it on himself, slots it in outside the box, far post. I mean, beautiful curler. And I loved how it just kind of sat. He just scored it, just kind of sits there. And yeah, it was after that, you could kind of feel like Anfield was getting nervous. Liverpool had a couple of chances, but boy, losing at Anfield, I think this was the Van Dijk's third loss ever at Anfield.
Wow.
Just reached.
You got your own stat throwback at me.
So yeah, I think this was the 101st game at Anfield, and now he's still 98 unbeaten. So I don't know, crazy stat. For Nottingham to be the team to come in and do it is even crazier.
Yeah. As you all know, as you obviously know, I picked Nottingham to go down. Matt Sells, I think it was also a combination of imprecise gameplay by Liverpool, and also Matt Sells had himself a match. He kept them in it during the first half when Liverpool had a little bit more flow to them. Now, granted, he did almost throw the ball between his legs into their goal at one point, but he managed to recover from that. Yeah. Almost looked very Nottingham Forest, but he saved it, and I'm not going to complain about a Liverpool loss. I'll be honest. I won't complain, even if it is Nottingham Forest. We'll move on to one that went more along the lines of what we would have expected. Manchester City wins 2-1, although 2-1 does not do City justice. Speaking of goalkeepers, the goalkeeper there for Brentford, Flecken, it could have been 4-5-1 easy in this one if Mark Flecken hadn't played as well as he did.
Yeah, I felt like Brentford's goal, 22 seconds into the match, just a terrible mistake by John Stones. But they converted. And then after that, I felt like Brentford had a bit of life for maybe the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, they controlled the match for that amount. Yeah.
Yeah, but then once Holland scored, 19th minute, you could kind of feel the momentum shift a lot. Mm-hmm. But very shocking. City did have a lot of chances even after Holland's second goal. But you're right, Flecken, especially in that second half, asserted the fact that he's a Premier League keeper. He's going to show you that even though you're City, I'm going to keep you out for as many goals as possible.
Yeah, and they were good saves too. Just barely pushed him onto the bar. And Ederson gets one of his assists for the season. That on Holland's second goal, very fun. That one. Holland is in prime form, so it's hard to. He's a what? What is he at now? He's at
9 goals.
9 goals in 4 matches. So on pace for 38. It doesn't go evenly into 38. 4 doesn't. But if we do a little estimation here, that's times 9.5. 9.5. So he's on pace for 70 goals, something like that. He keeps up this pace. That doesn't seem quite realistic, I don't think. But we'll move on to, oh man, this one's tough. This next one, it's tough for Everton. Everton, the second team ever in English, is it the Premier? Is it just Premier League? I couldn't remember if it's just Premier League or just in English footballing history to give up back-to-back 2-goal advantages and lose.
Really?
Yeah, it's something crazy like that. Well, because how often does it happen? Period, and then how often do you do it twice in a row? Answer. infrequently, to put it lightly. But Everton, yeah, they got their two in a pretty decent fashion. I mean, Aston Villa kind of the ball. It was just a bad defensive giveaway for the first one, but the second one was a great ball off a set piece for Calvert-Lewin getting his goal, and then Ollie Watkins just decided to take over after that, and get Aston Villa back into it on either side of the half, one before, one after. A little blooping cross is what I said for his first one from Digne over. He heads it in the back end, and then and really it was another one of those opportunities where Calvert-Lewin had a chance in the 54th minute where he was one-on-one with the goalkeeper and didn't convert. Could have salted the match away, essentially. Go up 3-1 in the 54th minute. Instead, 58th minute, terrible touch by 11 on the defense leads it right to Ollie Watkins' second one. This was. I mean, even when Everton had chances, they had chances afterward. It was the 79th minute. Calvert-Lewin had another shot at getting a goal and was failed to convert. So I don't know if this one feels. I think the previous one feels worse still because it happened so late that you were in the points until so late, rather than just missing out on opportunities to get back in there. But still, tough sledding right now for Everton.
I would argue that this one might hurt worse because now you're thinking, not again.
Yeah.
How did we get here again? Like, did we not learn our lesson from before the international break? We just had 2 weeks to think about our actions. But here we are again, giving up another second half, another 2-0 lead, and then giving up 2 goals late in the second half to just take away any points whatsoever. And like you said, it was Everton shooting themselves in the foot. One, I don't think Michael Keane is even a Premier League center back at this point. Like, he just looks lost. He looks out of place. He looks like he doesn't even know the flow of where the strikers are going. And he's been a key contributor to these other goals that teams have been scoring. But kudos to Aston Villa, though, for still having the belief. And I think that's going to propel Aston Villa back into that really good form we saw them in at the end of last season. Everton
entered the Champions League, actually. Like, this is a big pickup, going in with a win to the Champions League.
Yeah, Everton's got to figure it out, though.
We also can't leave this match without talking about the third goal from Aston Villa, the John Duran. I mean, 30 yards out, inside of the foot curler, on the docket for maybe goal of the season. I don't know. We'll see. It's hard to beat that.
Yeah, I mean, he was even like he was looking like he was going to pass it as he's winding up to kick the ball.
Yeah.
As he strikes it, puts his eyes down, and just some nice swivel. And people were talking about Pickford at the end of the match, saying that you should drop him for like his lack of saving the ball. There's no saving that. He could have been standing in that corner, and it still would have gone. It was that nice.
We'll come up to another one of those here at the end of the match day breakdown, where you just look at it and you go, you know what? That's really good stuff. I was talking to my dad about it. Like, that's one of those ones where you look and say, you know what? These are all world-class athletes, and sometimes they just beat you, They just outright beat you, and you can't do anything about it. That was one of those instances here with John Duran. Now, the Ollie Watkins goals, that's a totally different situation, okay? Like, some of those could have been easily stopped or converted otherwise. But the John Duran, you got to let that one go, buddy. To the last Saturday match. Wow. This one was not great for consumption. It was Bournemouth and Chelsea. A 1-0 victory for Chelsea. Came all the way in the 86th minute. And I got to tell you, Chelsea, you guys got to figure something out because you're going to make me look like a friggin' idiot here at the end of the season. I picked you guys to go second, and that ain't looking like a likelihood at this point.
Hey, I mean, 3 points is 3 points no matter how you can get it, especially away. Chelsea did leave it late, but Nkunku just bullied.
Yeah.
2 defenders out of the way, just toe poke it. And Bournemouth, rightly so, they were just angry at themselves for leaving it so late. because, again, those are big points versus top 6 teams that you need if you're going to make sure that near the end of the season you're comfortable and safe. So Bournemouth should have done better. Chelsea, not. Second straight week in the Premier League, they just haven't looked very cohesive. I think they're still trying to figure out their identity. Maybe the 6-2 Wolves victory just tankered them out of the goals that they had for a while. But they don't look like the same team they did even in week 2 versus now.
Yeah.
So they need to find their identity quickly, or you're right, they may find themselves in 9th and 10th again this season.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of look at them and say, you guys have played so poorly, but you're still right. I mean, you're in 8th and you're, one good weekend away from being top 4. So it's hard to complain, even if you've been playing bad, even though you've been playing poorly. But yeah, it wasn't great. Taverner did almost have a great goal of his own, but in the 4th minute early on, that could have changed the shape of this one for Bournemouth, but didn't happen. And then their penalty got saved in the 38th minute, and that kind of, I don't know. It was a weird game. It was a weird match overall. Then we moved to Sunday with a very tense North London derby. I believe I am correct on that. A 1-0 victory for Arsenal at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. 64th minute goal by Magalhaes. I believe that's how they said his name. I still think I don't know. He shoved that defender pretty hard leading up to his header, his free header. It was cleared by VAR, but I think that's one of those where a ref could have easily called it and no one would bat an eye, but they didn't want to overturn the no call in this one. I feel like it was one of the instances where VR did not want to get involved. It wasn't an obvious error, I guess.
For me, I just felt like it was a push, but Romero doesn't fall down. He kind of exaggerates the movement, which then takes him further away from Gabriel. So, when you look at it in real time, he shoves him, but it's not anything that the ref called in real time. I don't think it's an obvious error. I'm actually fine with it, especially with how much they jostle around in the box. Sometimes I despise when a guy barely touches someone and he just falls over, that it's a free kick. So I don't actually mind the fact that the push happened, but that leading to a goal, it did create, it just depends on what you think of creating the separation between your marker. How much of a push is okay. But I don't know. He doesn't fall over. I think if he falls over, it's an easy call. But Romero wants to stand his ground, loses his spacing, and then it's a goal.
Listen, I'm not losing sleep over it. I think it's a 50-50 call is what it comes down to. Arsenal still, I think, deserved to win the match. I think they were slightly better than Tottenham on the day. Spurs were missing a little bit that last third magic that they typically have.
I will say in the first half, horrible giveaway from Ben White. Solanke just takes a terrible first touch. I mean, had he taken a good first touch and could have shot it or laid it off to his fellow attacker, I mean, Tottenham scores within the first 15 minutes, I think it was. But just not taking advantage of those opportunities, as you just said, not finding that touch. Solanke, he's not playing too hot the first few games versus Tottenham, and I think he's going to really have to kick it into gear if they're going to start winning these big games and getting into the top 4.
If he wants to stay off of our worst transfers at the end of the season, he's got to start producing, huh? I mean, they're paying a lot. They paid a lot of money for him to get nothing out of him. Yeah. And then we move to the last match. We do have to get to it eventually, okay? This is the other one where a side that really needs points gave them up and gets nothing. My Wolves lose at the Molineux 2-1. I mean, I did pick it, so I can't be super mad about it. I can, but I can't. Jorgen Strand Larsen is eventually going to score for us, okay? He plays very well.
He should have there in the second half.
I'll get to it in a second, okay? 36-minute, great leave. I can't remember who actually left it, but Strand Larsen puts the ball across the box. There's a great leave, and Lamina puts it on the back end. Very nice, very good goal. Then we get to the part what you're talking about. Strand Larsen hits the post in the 53rd minute. Then he has a free header that he puts right to the goalkeeper a few minutes later. And then in the 68th minute, Cunha hits the post and is denied there as well. Guess what happens after that? 75th minute, Fabian Schär gets the first goal. So now we're on 1 point. Really, it was an unlucky deflection. Unfortunate, unlucky deflection. Fabian Schär's goal finds its way into the back of the net. It was tough. It was not great. And then just 5 minutes later, Harvey Barnes. This is the what I was mentioning earlier when we were talking about Duran's goal. Just a beautiful bending outside of the goalpost, back inside, upper nine, Harvey Barnes goal. I mean, I'm mad, but I'm not. I'm disappointed, but I'm not mad about that because it was a really nice goal. And then Cunha just to put salt in the wound. 93rd minute, a fantastic save denied Cunha our equalizer. Could have had a point, but 'twas not to be so, I suppose.
Yeah, this one, a couple of Wolves chances right before the Schär goal that I think Cunha may have hit the bar. I know Strand Larson had one near post that almost went in.
Yep.
So one of those moments where if either of those go in, it's probably a very different approach from Newcastle than just firing it from 30 yards from Schär. But yeah, unlucky deflection. It was João Gomez who left the Lamina goal.
That's right.
Which is just amazing situational awareness.
Yep.
He just knew that Lamina was there. He knew leaving it, the defender was already tracking him. So that goal was very well executed. But yeah, you just don't. On the Harvey Barnes goal, I felt as though a defender could have stepped earlier. Both guys in the middle kind of hesitated.
There was a poor handoff at the top of the box, and you saw it happen in the replay that I can't remember who was trailing him, but somebody had him bodied and was handing him off, but the guy didn't come towards him, so he had to do a little stutter step, and it gave him the window to get the shot off. Still have to execute the shot, which we see plenty of times go wild. But yes, it was a poor defensive handoff at the top of the box, which is not where you want those to happen generally.
No, but overall, I felt like, again, Wolves shouldn't be kicking themselves, though, because 3 of the first 4 matches they played have been against top 6, top 7 teams.
Yeah.
And they played well. I think once they start hitting more of the middle-of-the-pack teams, bottom-of-the-table teams, Wolves have played well enough that I think they could start getting 3 points really quickly each week.
Yeah, too bad we have Aston Villa up next. Does it ever get easy? It has to. Literally, it has to. Let me take a look. Can we get a good bit of the schedule coming up here shortly? Let's see. Oh, good. Then we get Liverpool after that, and then we get a week off for Brentford. And then we get City. Cool. Then we get Brighton. Awesome. Okay. Then we get Crystal Palace, Southampton, Fulham, Bournemouth, Everton before coming back to West Ham. So we got a good little bit there. November into December where we got some points on the table, some consecutive matches with points on the table. So that's a long wait, but you gotta play. You gotta play one at a time. You know, each match as it comes. Oh, good. And Ipswich Town, Leicester City back to back there just before we get the Boxing Day. So that's that. Looking forward to that. Not a lot to look forward to before that. But that brings us to the end of this match day. You went 6-2 on Saturday, 0-2 on Sunday. So you ended up being 6-4 with 10.15 units still. So you bet $10, you get back $20.15. I was 5-5. I did have a perfect pick. I forgot to mention this as we're going through. Perfect pick was my Fulham West Ham 1-1. I forgot to cut it out and put it out as a clip, but it happened nonetheless. 8.84 units on this one. So, you bet 10, $1 on each, you get 18 back. We both still beat units-wise the favorites, though. So we're crushing the favorites right now. I'm at 40 units, 40.35. You're at 45.7. And the favorites are just down at 26.8. So, we're crushing it right now.
Making that money.
Making that moolah. But that's all anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
Looking ahead to match week 5, as we'll discuss
Oof,
in the preview
big
episode
one.
later this week, it's
Who's up
going to
this
be
one?
interesting how the Champions League, Europa League teams, how those teams respond. I actually don't know if Europa League is this week, but at least the Champions League English sides, how they're going to respond to the first real midweek action that actually matters.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they respond. I think that's something to look forward to and something to check out during the week.
Yeah, I say my Wolves are unlucky to get Aston Villa, but they are going to be playing 3 matches in a 7-day span, so that's a good bit. But
Yeah.
a really big match on Sunday that at the Etihad. But we'll get to that not in the next episode because yes, in the next episode. I believe that I will put these out in that order. So in the next episode, our preview episode for this weekend. We'll break it in there until we get to that episode. Why don't you go ahead and grab your coffee, watch some soccer, and we'll see you all.